information is literally on their phone.
Yeah, well, as to the corporate world, you usually have a generational issue where the people who are in charge aren't the people who've learned the breakthrough technologies that have happened over the last 20 years.
Or Steve, the compensation that leadership has doesn't, the infrastructure of short-term numbers and being able to cash out within 2 or 3 years after you're out of the position, even though you've only been there for 2 to 3 years, doesn't necessarily put CEOs in today's landscape in a position to actually care about the health of a business a decade from today.
Well, that one I'll fight you on.
Please.
Because the person you see in that position has come up through a variety of other positions, and people who spend their life doing something aren't necessarily all short-term oriented. So they want their organization, just like you want your podcast to be a winner.
Well, let's play that a little bit differently. It's very different to be an executive who spent 13 years within the McDonald's Inc. to then become the CMO, but then transfer and go work at 3G on Burger King is quite different than me being in perpetuity with my personal brand.
Well, I'm in perpetuity with my personal brand at Blackstone.
Sure, we're not talking about you.
No, I understand.
We're talking about executives that run companies who transact on stock price, who also can spend 15, 20 years to get to that point when they're really making economics. By the way, you'll appreciate this. I don't blame that. That's human behavior. I don't think it's a negative. But I think it's a really interesting dynamic.
That's a separate subject than introduction of and effectiveness of technology, for large-scale organizations.
Well, real quick, I apologize.
Yeah.
It is interrupted by.
No problem.
You'll appreciate this, though. I think this is a fascinating dynamic. Yes, but it's also the reason that some, not all, there's always a some game, right? Struggle with taking the one step backwards to make the capital investments, to have the patience around consumer behavior in lieu of milking out the infrastructure costs that they've invested in within a half-decade period.
I think it's, to the extent that that's true, I don't think it's an economic decision. I think it's a lack of familiarity. If people understood how profoundly they could penetrate a market or be effective, they would do it.
Steve,
because the other problem is, if you're not doing it and somebody else is, you're going to be severely damaged. So there is some rough frontier justice
I think
here.
it's a game of where's the balance in the subconscious, let alone the conscious, of the individual that's leading,
Yes.
on their balance between legacy and currency.
Yes. Well, also comfort. In other words,
that's very fair, because I think an innovating entrepreneur, she or he is only comfort in chaos, whereas a very type A operator is only comfort in a very different dynamic.
Yeah, entrepreneurs don't believe they're in chaos. You may think so, but they don't. The reason, being an entrepreneur yourself of a certain type, or myself, you only make decisions when you feel you're right. You don't make decisions, to take risk. This idea that entrepreneurs are risk takers is complete BS. They're risk takers.
Bullshit for the people that watch the show.
They're risk takers from the perspective of people who are watching them, not from them themselves. And so nobody.
We think it's the reverse.
Yes.
We think the person that's going this way is actually vulnerable.
Right. And so people who are entrepreneurs just see the same facts differently, or they actually obtain different facts, and those different facts show them something that's wholly logical. In my own case, I can explain everything I do, exactly why I do it, and I'm also totally open to someone proving that that's incorrect, because I don't want to be wrong. But when I see it, and if other people, either sometimes it's interesting, they see it, but they don't want to change what they're doing. It's the nature of the human being. I found out now, because I'm now 25 years old, so I've had a lot of observations of the human condition, that even with a wonderfully conceived new thing, if you describe it to people, hardly anybody else will follow, because they're comfortable doing whatever they're doing.
It goes back to the point earlier of the executives running these companies in a lot of ways, in my opinion. I believe that the discomfort, and then, look, humans are a game of vested interest in the subconscious or conscious. It just is. It's an animalistic game.
I don't quite understand it fully. I'm grateful that exists, because it's helped my little corner of the world.
In this perspective of watching operators, give me a couple of your favorite operators in the balance of let's sum up what we're talking about right now, the black and white versus the gray of operations and strategy. Who's stood out? Some of the investments you've made that you've watched before that have really, as you've gotten closer and watched, you've just been fond of or thought were unique or interesting?
Well, I actually don't encounter people in that way and think about them.
Okay.
When I was younger, there was a guy operating within that now obsolete world. It was the head of GE named Jack Welch, and he looked at everything as if it was completely new. He listened to everyone intensely. He had this unique ability, still does, he's still alive, to interrogate somebody and learn everything they knew in the shortest period of time I have ever seen. And then he'd take that on board and do that with a succession of people, and then come to a conclusion that an organization was doing something right or wrong, could do better, should go in a different thing. And what he would do was challenge and push them to do that. And he would go wherever those insights were. This is a completely courageous person with a giant brain, endless energy, and took that company into the largest market value because the just extraordinary nature of the person.
No question.
And I met him before he had his job at the top, and I was asked by the head of his company to teach him finance. That took like 2 days and a limited number of hours, and he could suck out of my brain anything I had in there, even stuff I didn't know, and off he went. And occasionally you run into these extraordinary human
Why'd you
beings.
write the book?
I wrote the book because starting like about 7 to 10 years ago, people, instead of my going and selling them products that we had, I'd meet somebody at the top. In particular, there was an incident when I was in the Middle East with the head of a very large, what they call sovereign wealth fund, which is savings of their country.
Yes.
And he was new, and I had an introduction. I was the first person he was going to meet outside of his world before he was appointed. And instead of a 5-minute handshake, he wanted to know how to run his organization better because he wasn't experienced. And so I ended up spending 2.5 hours sort of telling him how to do stuff. And so for me, that's pretty easy. That's what I do. I mean, so
I get it.
he certainly could do that. And I know that surprised everybody because that's not what was supposed to happen. And then as I would go around the world, which I do, meeting groups of people who give us money, all of a sudden nobody wanted to hear about our products. And this particular guy, the first guy, was very funny. I tried to sell him something in the middle of showing him what he ought to be doing. And he said, please, Mr. Schwarzman, don't waste my time. He said, we'll buy your products anyhow. Your time is too precious for me. I want to know, to do a sales pitch. So what happened is
that became the seed of like there's something there.
Yeah, and what happened is that started happening everywhere I went. And then I realized that I was spending 2.5 hours every time I was seeing somebody, and if I wrote it down, then I could just give them the book and save me the time.
So it's a time arbitrage.
Right, that's what it was. So what happens now? I end up being here talking about it. So that's like another hour of my
totally
life. So I basically blew it.
Can I ask you a funny question? I think this will help the audience. How much competitive spirit do you have in you for the book to do well?
Oh, I am exceptionally
I kind of figured, right?
competitive,
like,
yes.
It's clearly not an economic play. The spirit is back to process or back to loving a game. Like, there's a big part of your juice. I mean, for you to be here, there's a big part of your juices to make it successful.
Yeah, if you're going to do something, anything, doesn't matter what it is, there are a limited number of things you can do in life.
That's right.
And if you're going to do one, you better crush it.
Yep, I agree.
Right, and that's part of what I say in the book. If you're going to do something, because you have limited time, it should be great.
I'm very curious about this. In the last, let's give it a number, 2 to 3 years, what technology, what app, maybe Alexa, what modern technology have you enjoyed using on a personal level?
Well, I was technological illiterate, and basically until about 4 years ago, I was using a flip phone.
Love you.
And
you still have that flip phone? I'd love to flip it on you.
I actually have a few of them because they're so obsolete that we had to buy the last batch of them.
Were you in this category of some of my friends that I love to razz, where you were getting your emails printed out for you? Or was it not that extreme? Because I have a couple of dear friends who are like a little further along in their careers, and I was in a meeting 3 years ago, and in walks an admin with a stack of papers, and I could see the first top one, and I said, brother, there's no way you're printing your emails. And he said, yeah. I said, that's fucking amazing.
Well, right.
Were you in that category? Because that would excite me.
I actually have somebody at our management committee meetings who has that stack brought in during the meeting. So no, I actually I read my emails.
What about in flip phone land only 4 years ago? You didn't have it on your phone.
Yeah, they would print those.
Yes, thank you for going there, sir.
But it became like sort of crazy because as I travel around, there'd be people meeting me with these large stacks of things, and so I realized that was a loser. So that's when I converted to the iPad, the iPhone, and now I can't believe I was so stupid. And so now you were sort of caught in traffic a little bit, and I was just sitting here getting
things done.
Yeah, and now it is fascinating that the people who generate statistics for the U.S. government and other governments talk about lack of productivity in the world as one of the major drivers for slower growth. Anybody who is living today, who has all of these devices, you're actually working 16, 18 hours a day. You're always on. It's 6-7 days a week, and the productivity for, I guess, what used to be called white collar workers, but you're wearing a sweatshirt now, so it's not white collar. So the productivity is astonishing.
The tools are in place, my friend. It's the craftsman.
It's amazing.
Tools are in place.
Right. So
but some of these jokers here are watching YouTube videos for 3 hours during that time.
Well, that's not for me.
Understood.
But it's amazing. I just got pictures. I was waiting for you from one of my partners in Tokyo, from New York, in Tokyo, with a group of people. Everybody's smiling. It's like a group thing, so I can feel exactly what they're feeling.
It's context.
And it's instantaneous.
Yeah, speed and context.
It's so amazing.
Do you have questions? Yeah, let's do a phone number. I think somebody will have a thrill. Go ahead. Name?
But what I would say before we start with the question, just in terms of competition, my nature, the book is a New York Times bestseller, is of Amazon, best book of the year.
Hold on 1 second.
Best book of the
Hello.
Hey, Jack.
Hey,
is that
this
you?
is Jack Lowe. Is this Matthew?
Yeah, this is Tim. Nice to speak to you, Jack.
Hey, awesome. How are you doing?
I am really well. How are you?
I'm doing great. Yeah. Cool.
I sent you a DM a moment ago. I asked you, is the feedback too loud in here? Would you like me to take the call outside, or is that going to be okay?
Oh, it's actually okay. Anyway, you're comfortable with. So yeah.
All right,
And
perfect.
Hold up. I'll just add you, and probably we can do a one-to-one direct call so that we can do a video call. Are you comfortable doing video call, by the way?
Yeah, I am. You might have to just give me a moment to prop up my tablet to make sure it's at a good angle. But yeah, I can do that.
Right, sure. That'll be good.
Yeah, go ahead and send me a call through the private messages.
Right. Yo, so what's going on is that currently my webcam is under the live stream, so it's only turned on there on that side, and you can't see it. Is that okay?
Yeah, no, that's perfectly fine.
Right.
Give me a moment just to get set up. I
Yeah.
want to see if I can get my headphones
Sure.
to work so I can hear you better. Let's see.
Yeah. I'll touch on my side as well.
Okay. So for some reason my headphones won't work. The
Right.
video chat. That should be okay. I can hear you. I can hear you all right.
All right. Cool. Let me just do some adjustments here and there.
Sure.
All right. Alright, I think it's starting to look good. I was just adjusting the setup to be able to put you in, you know? Yeah.
Good.
Yeah,
My
getting
headphones
you
started
in
working.
frame and all that. Yeah.
Cool.
So, yeah. Just give me a little bit more moment. Yeah.
No, take your time. Thank you for having me on your podcast. I'm really excited about this.
Awesome, awesome. Likewise, man. Alright, I think we're good to go.
Awesome. I
Awesome.
am ready.
Yeah, so like how you doing, man? Like what's up in your world right now, man? Like yeah. Just kinda like get a little bit of introduction here and there. And before we roll with the podcast, man. Yeah.
So this is uh, before the podcast is rolling, right? Yeah, my world's good, man. I am constantly busy right now, but I'm waking up every day and doing exactly what I want to do, so I'm really blessed and grateful, you know. It's,
Right.
yeah, like I would do this all for free, but like I feel like I'm on a good trajectory to getting to financial freedom at some point, you know.
That'll be awesome.
How are you doing?
Oh, I'm doing great, yeah. Is there like a quieter environment for your site? If that's possible.
Mm, I would say that going outside would be quieter, but the
Right.
lighting would be the issue. The lighting would be the issue now because it's already dark here.
Ah, I see, I see.
Here, I'm gonna take you on a journey with me real quick,
Yeah,
and
sure,
you let me
sure.
know how. Let's see how the lighting is at the
Right. I think as long as you sound great and it'll be cool.
cool. All right.
Yeah, I
Would
think
that be
this works fine. This works fine. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
okay?
Yeah, you were saying
Okay.
like how was I doing, right? Yeah, I'm doing great. Yeah.
Give me one moment. I'm gonna go pack up my belongings and bring them out here. Be right
Right,
back.
sure.
reason that Amazon is so important is because of this. When I look at tech,
All right, how's this?
All right, cool. Yeah, I think this environment is much quieter, and we can roll with it, you know.
Word.
All right, before we roll with the podcast, like yeah, like so you were talking about like you being like wanting to achieve this financial freedom. So like you know like so what's up right now? Like what are you doing? The jobs, you side hustling, that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Word. So
Right.
my my main objective on my plate right now is that I'm building a music label with a partner.
Right.
Right now I have a music promotion channel on YouTube that is doing okay and growing, but we decided that opening a label and having copyrights to like the actual music
Right.
would be a lot more lucrative for us. Hey Jack, I'm actually really sorry, bro. It's actually like freezing out here. Is it okay if we do it inside?
Oh yeah, sure,
I
sure, sure. Yeah, I think
Yeah.
we should do somewhere where you're comfortable at.
Okay. Yeah, sorry, bro. I underestimated the temperature.
Right, I totally get you, man. That's
Uh,
no worries. Yeah.
all right. All right. Okay, I'll be right back.
Yeah, sure.
Amazon is so important is because of this. When I look at tech, it comes down to the same way I look at the NFL. You've got to have one of the quarterbacks, and Amazon is one of the only. Reason that
Okay. Yeah, much more comfortable. Thank you.
All right. Cool, 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 cool.
But so yeah, like I was saying,
Right.
we're building the music label right now. just to own copyrights on the music that we're putting out, so we can get a better share of revenue on the on the streams on them, and also so we can freely use that music on other pieces of content that we're making. Because
Right.
we're going to be doing a lot of visual arts too. So like what I'm building right now with the lifestyle brand,
Right.
the sound brand, it's a brand that's based on a different set of ethics. So we believe that all people deserve a quality of life, and that we can attain our dreams by being a force for good in this world. I'm sure you're aware that in the fashion industry in particular,
Right.
that laborers are often exploited, and that's something that I think, something that I really believe doesn't have to be the case. Like a fundamental philosophy of mine is that
Right.
there's a right way to do everything. Like all humans deserve a real shot at happiness and not to be exploited.
Right. 100%. Yeah. I like that a lot, man. Like achieving happiness, that kind of stuff. Yeah. So like, from my understanding, you're doing music, you're doing this clothing brand and all that. Yeah, that's very cool. Yeah. So you're doing with a bunch of friends, I believe. Yeah.
Yeah. So the there are some challenges in holding up like that ethical code. It's not that. It's just that you have to be very careful in who you align yourself with, and make sure that you see the world the same way and that you want the same things. So right now, my team and I, we're just really like identifying the people that share our values and share our beliefs and that want to achieve the same thing. So we got a couple of people, and we're growing right now.
Right, that's super awesome. Like I also like can empathize like you saying talking about like finding the people with the aligning with the same value and all that, and trying to achieve things from there. Yeah, it's super duper important, and I totally get that. Yeah, so
Right.
I think I got a rough idea of like what you are about, and I like to share like who am I about, and I'm currently I'm serving in the army right now. Yeah, so currently 22 this year, and you know I'm just trying out stuff. This is sort of my sort of called the side hustle, and doing this podcast, trying to connect with people, bring clarity towards the thoughts about the different subject matters in life in general. So yeah, man. So that's pretty much this whole podcast. The idea is all about bring clarity for both of us and hopefully the listeners out there. But my listeners, the audience size is currently like close to nothing. But I just like value this type of conversation much more than getting the numbers and all that. Yeah, and it's been serving me really well so far, like getting this clarity for myself, or for what I truly want, the purpose for my life and all that. Yeah, I hope this is something that you like to have, like this
Definitely.
conversation.
I live for this. Honestly, these are my favorite kind of conversations.
Right. Yeah.
And that's admirable. So how much longer are you going to be in the army for? Do you have what is your ambition after that phase of your life is over?
Oh, that's a great question. So so I'm living in Singapore right now. Singapore is a place where it's compulsory for you to serve the army for 2 years. Yeah, 2 years. So I'm currently close to finishing off soon. 6 more months in, and I'll be out. And what I'm looking towards is like working for first plan is to be able to like work under YouTubers. In Singapore we have some influential YouTubers and all that. I like to understand how do they work and all that. I still don't know much stuff, and can't find my true passion and all that. I like to find my strengths, and I have other different plans, probably like working like part-time jobs, or like doing some customer service job and all that to get the living. I want to hold accountable for my own living and all that. So yeah, and at the side, I will do this podcasting and acquire more skills and all that, photography, videography, and all that. Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome, bro.
Right.
A great path to go on.
Yeah. I'm so looking forward towards that. Yeah.
Yeah, and I admire your hustle, man. Like, I see you're putting out content regularly, and it looks like you're gonna have that Gary Vaynerchuk too, right?
Right. Yeah, that would be
That's
super
sweet.
duper. Yeah. So like so for your current site, like I like to understand like how is it going so far? Like the
Sure.
music and all that. Yeah.
Well, with the music, it started out as like a hobby, 2017.
Right.
I was going through a phase of self-discovery. Like in 2016, I bottom moment, and like that was what kind of was that was a pivotal moment, getting this spiritual and intellectual awakening,
Right.
and the whole foundation of how I changed when I just became more aware of the way that reality, if that makes sense. So in 2017, like I was still really shook up by like
Right.
my epiphanies that I had. So I was just really trying to figure myself out, and my method for doing that was I was listening to underground music on SoundCloud and just looking at artwork that I liked, and I just started piecing it together because like it was just a fun hobby for me at first, but
Right.
gradually my self-awareness developed, and I was like, oh man, I am really passionate about art and music. During this time, I was also, like I said, I had this intellectual as well as spiritual awakening in 2016. So in that era, I just began reading books and consuming self-development content pretty much obsessively. But
Right.
so where I'm at now is like the culmination of that. Like I was studying a lot, and I still am studying a lot, and like I was just so involved in art and music. I had a realization a little ways into it that art is what creates culture. Like
Right.
artists are the people that create the world. So if I wanted to change things about the world that I don't agree with
Right.
in areas that I think can be improved, I I really believe that art is a medium to touch people's hearts and change their
Definitely.
minds.
Definitely.
Yeah,
Yeah. I totally agree on to that. Yeah. So
yeah,
yeah, like the reason why I like to like get like the understanding from both of our sides, learning about stories before we roll with the podcast is because like I believe like when I step into the podcast, I will like to be highly interruptive. I hope you don't mind with that.
sure.
I like to
No,
jump into places where we can dive deep about. Yeah. So yeah, I think I sort of get your story and all that already, and I think we're ready to roll with the podcast. Are you ready? Yeah.
I'm so ready. Let's do it.
All right. Awesome. I'll start in a sec. Yeah. So
Sure,
there's
go
gonna
ahead.
be a small intro, and then we just we start by introducing ourselves, and we roll with the podcast and all that. How much time are you comfortable doing this for?
Let's see. I can go for between 40 and 50 minutes.
All right. I'll set it as like 45 minutes. Is that all right?
Perfect.
All right, sure. All right, we're gonna start soon. Welcome to the Jack Low video experience, and today joining me is Matthew Reese. And how are you doing, Matthew Reese? Yeah.
I am really well, Jack. Thanks for asking. How are you today?
Oh, I'm doing awesome, and like I'm super grateful to have you here, joining me for this podcast on this episode. And so, like, before anything else, like, can you tell us like who you are and how old are you and what's in your world right now? Yeah, man.
All right. Well, I am Matthew Reese. I am an entrepreneur and activist. What I'm pursuing right now is creating a music label and a lifestyle brand. We believe that all people deserve a quality of life and that we can attain our dreams by being a force for good in the world. The name of my brand is Found. Found is a symbol and voice we share that care about human beings, planet Earth, by reflecting these beliefs in the way that we really want. Our mission is to influence culture to live more sustainably and more compassionately. Yeah. So that's the big picture idea of what I'm after. We can get a little more into it.
Right. That's super awesome. And during your this journey of like pursuing for your this music stuff, and before we actually roll with the podcast, you actually talk about like you having like struggles, like you having like to be able to like pick the right people to with the aligned values in order to fulfill your goals and all that. Yeah, talk to me about those areas. Yeah.
Yeah. So a challenge. Actually, let me reframe that. I don't even consider it a challenge anymore.
Right.
But the what I'm focusing on is finding people that share the same beliefs as the brand's mission. It's important to me, the artists that we represent, people that we work with, we so right now we're building a team and we got some really incredible people with us right now so far, and it's great. And it's just like a screening process of who's going to get onto the label and who.
Right.
Because the brand is at such, we hold ourselves to a higher ethical level than maybe a typical person, and that's
Right.
not to throw shade at everyday people, but we just believe that art and music is a medium that can touch people's hearts and change their minds. So that's why we're really putting our philosophy into the art and music that we're going to do. So that's where it is. The difficult part is finding artists that believe in the same thing, so that gets expressed through their art and music.
Right. So like I like to understand like what made you started, like all this like trying to like inspire people and all that. Was there any reason to leading you to this? Like walk me through like how you all started, yeah.
Yeah, I'm happy to dig into it. So
Right.
back in 2016, I had a spiritual and intellectual awakening. I was hit with these epiphanies when I started becoming more aware of the world that we live in and reality. And I just found that a lot of things that were going on were things that on a conscious and moral level, I really didn't agree with, and I fell into like a deep spiral of depression. Prior to this, too, like I had a drinking problem, and I was smoking pot every day.
Right.
I've been clean for years now, which is great because I found this sense of purpose in my life. I started getting satisfaction out of pursuing my dreams instead of looking for alternatives to get it from.
Right.
But so anyway, in 2016, I had that awakening.
Right.
In 2017, I was just figuring myself out because my whole world. So, in my method for finding out more about myself was listening to underground music on SoundCloud and just exploring different art media. And that began as a hobby. And eventually I started this YouTube channel, We Are Found.
Right.
The original name was I Found AIM, but it evolved into We Are Found because it's bigger than just me now.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
forgive me.
Yeah, no worries. Like you actually talk about like this period of 2016, like you have founding a period of time that you fell into depression, right? Like it feels like a
Sure.
very like a sad moment. That it's a very dark place that you actually enter into, and I totally can empathize people who actually step into that, because I myself, for the last few months, you know, I'm feeling really down, I'm feeling really sad, I feel that I'm not connecting my energy with other people, that and I got so many like personality traits that doesn't allow me to actually connect with people, you know. And actually, you know, I found out that I was just being way too hard on myself, and I've taken the measures and the steps to actually, you know, do meaningful and recovering, you know, healing of myself and all that, by, you know, saying that everything is all right and all that, and being less hard on myself, you know. Like that's what I learned recently.
Definitely.
And yeah, so I like to understand how was like can you paint us a better picture of what was actually going on down there during 2016, like you looking
Sure.
back towards that scenario. Yeah.
Yeah, so the real short of it is I had broken up with like my girlfriend at the end of 2015, who I thought at the time was like the love of my life. And
Right.
so like whenever you get rejected by a woman, that's an invitation for self-awareness. You know, you really have to explore like
Right.
with yourself, why the heck did this happen?
Totally.
Uh, but as it turns out, you know, it was a total blessing. So I just that was like my invitation to self-awareness, like I said, and I started. I don't know how else to put it besides it was just like total grace that I stumbled into this intellectual realm. And I started like consuming all this self-development content on YouTube like obsessively, and I started just picking up books and I started like learning about the world. And it was a double-edged sword because like the good side of it was that I was learning and I was like changing myself, but then I just became hyper aware of the path that led up to that point in my life was a lot of wasted time and a lot of wasted potential, and that's what really sent me into that depression.
Right.
So like I was at that point in my life I was drinking alcohol like maybe 4 or 5 times a week, and I
Right.
was smoking pot like every day. I've been clean for years now, and like that's because I found purpose in my life and I was able to pursue that, and that gave me so much more satisfaction. Uh,
Right.
but there was a rock bottom moment in 2016 when at the time I was waiting tables at a restaurant called Olive Garden, and
Right.
I just like I the service industry is real difficult sometimes, especially when you're waiting, because some people just will treat you shitty, and forgive my language. It's just not a consistent life. Like I was busing across town just to get to
Right.
work, and I was barely getting by. And I just like I had this moment where like I didn't see any path for myself like going forward. Like why am I living? I couldn't figure it out. Like I was just working to live. And that's not a life. So like that was my rock bottom moment where
Right.
I didn't see a purpose in my life, and I was seriously at the lowest and contemplating suicide. You know,
Right.
my mom my mom's an angel because I reached out to her first, and then she's like the one that talked me out of it. But
Right.
so anyways, at that point, I totally overhauled my life, quit my job, and I took an opportunity to move across the country to live with my, and estranged from, like he and I weren't in our lives, like in each other's lives at all, really.
Right.
And then I took a year to just live with him, and I just studied nonstop about a ton of different topics. Like I'm a big, that was a job too, but I was also studying business and
Right.
philosophy and a lot of different. But during that
Right.
time is when I was exploring art and music, and what the point where I'm at now is kind of like the culmination of all these interests developing into this lifestyle. Because as I told you pre-podcast conversation, I really believe that art and music is the perfect medium to touch people's hearts. Change. There are things in this world improved upon, and it just takes the ability to change people's perception to get.
Right, definitely, like different forms of like actually like touching people's heart, connecting energy with all them and all that, and like what make you like thought of like thinking of like using the art form for you to connect with other people? Like what do you think is so special about the art form that you are creating? Yeah.
So I think what is special about the art form that I'm developing is that it doesn't tell you what to think. It
Right.
just asks you to think for yourself.
Right.
So you like my art form is really very simple. Like I put a lot of effort into choosing the symbolism and the music that I feature. But at the end of the day, it's a still image and music.
Right.
And then I just place them together, and I'm just inviting people to think about more deep.
Right. Right. So it's like you putting up a I believe it's like is it on Instagram or what? So not.
So I'm expanding onto Instagram as well as other, but it's on and began on YouTube. The YouTube channel is
Oh, YouTube.
We Are Found. Yeah.
Right. So it's like I believe it's like a still image alongside with some music on, right?
Correct.
Awesome. So like how do what do you think like the general audience will feel after like like touching to your arts, like is there any like sort of things that you wish to have impact onto the people who actually watch those? Yeah.
So my goal is the invitation to get my audience to think more deeply about a variety of topics. Sometimes it's just to understand themselves. I mean, only a portion of the audience will perceive the art that way. Fundamentally, it's just a promotion channel for each of these artists to get the name out there. That's the active effect of it. But as I grow, I want to continue on the bigger concept of changing the way of just showing.
Right. Right. So actually like when you were like during the period when you were like actually like uh uh waiting tables and all that, like at that point of your life, like how was it like, like were you like just mainly doing that thing, or were you yeah, what was it like well, on the daily
Sure.
day-to-day basis? Yeah.
Yeah, my lifestyle was super simple. I would bus to work in the morning. I would work for 6, 7 hours, come home, and then I would. At that point, I was already hitting the books, the self-development. So that was work, and then study.
Ah, I see. So it's pretty much like you were like trying to squeeze out as much time as possible for yourself to actually like learn and grow and the self development and all that. Yeah.
Yeah, except I wouldn't describe it as, like, squeeze. Like, I did it because I enjoyed it. Like I was like
Right.
it was what was giving me happiness. Yeah.
Right. Awesome. Like so like I believe that you say that it was your mom who actually like make you like have this like sort of like breakthrough. So like what are the words that she actually talked to you about, like yeah, that actually make you
You know,
actually wanted to make that breakthrough and all that?
you know, I can't remember exactly what she had said, but I know
Right.
the perspective that she offered, and that was that like the game isn't even over, and in fact, at the time, it hadn't even really started. There was so much potential still in that. Make it. And I've taken that perspective, general philosophy, forward ever since, and I like what I've created so far. I like the trajectory that I'm on.
Right. Right. So like as much as that, like like uh do you believe that is there any like other sources that actually make you wanted to do the breakthrough and all that? Was it like you thinking of that you do not want to let your family down, that kind of stuff, that the things that is playing in your head during that moment, like you looking back right now, like do you think that is there any other sources that actually cause you to actually wanting to make the breakthrough out of that?
So yeah, there absolutely is, and I didn't anticipate this conversation to go this direction, but that's okay. Let's get raw and real about it.
Right.
I'm not. I don't know if you're a spiritually inclined person or not,
Right.
but metaphysical phenomenon. Like I said, I had a intellectual as well as spiritual awakening at the same time. It's like a
Right.
metaphysical phenomenon was happening where the thoughts that I was having were aligning with the manifestations in my reality. The psychologist Carl Jung termed this concept called synchronicity, and that is exactly appearing kind of in a is like it's a way of putting it.
Right.
And when that was happening, I okay. So here's the grit of it. But how I told you earlier, I recently broke up with my girlfriend.
Right.
During the time frame that I saw things were going south, I I've always kept a journal, and in that journal I had wrote like my wish at the time, like of what I saw, and I wrote my sincerest wish was for power and influence.
Right.
That sounds really empirical. That's what I wish for. And when in 2016 I was laying on my bedroom floor listening to music,
Right.
like hanging out, that there was a fly buzzing around, and I didn't like think about it. It's just a fly,
Right.
but like it kept getting louder, and then eventually a big gust of wind blew through my window and totally like silenced the fly. But there was an open notebook laying on my bed, and it started flapping, and then it landed on that page where I wrote that wish, power, and influence.
Right.
And then that same fly landed on my touchscreen computer, and I always listen to music on YouTube, and it landed on a video icon it's something that I never like there's a video about something that I never really explored before, but the video was about how corporations and governments and really just powerful people
Right.
utilize influence to over the mass of people, like by using psychology. And that was how I dived into psychology. But forgive me, and I'm trying to articulate this the best way I can. But it was a synchronistic event that the fly was making all that noise. A notebook landed on that page when the wind blew through, and then that video came on out of. And I was like, if there was ever a sign, it'd be one. So it's a real strange story, but that became my North Star in terms of what I would study and what I would pursue. And that's why I became interested in developing a brand, because if such powerful techniques exist, I want to be on the righteous team as I can. I want, like, the metaphorical doors that opened, and I want to use this knowledge to improve upon. So, like, for example, in marketing, marketing tactics will often like convince people to do behaviors that are unhealthy. You know, like they'll get a 4-pound cheeseburger at whatever fast food restaurant, and they'll use like real powerful marketing tactics with real, also powerful psychology methods to make people more inclined to go have that awful cheeseburger for them.
Definitely.
So I thought, like, what if I can use that kind of influence, but to influence positive behavior? Like I'm really big about.
Right.
I would really like to beat Coca-Cola.
Right. Yeah, that's super cool, you know, like you actually wanting to use that, you know, that marketing, that kind of a stuff to actually attract positive stuff, and that's like super interesting, you know, like and all that, you know, like I think we like to I like to dive into like your current life right now, like how is it like in your current life right now on a day-to-day basis, and the things that you actually do, because I believe that there's like a clothing brand that you're doing, and this music thing that you're doing. Yeah, like how is it going so far, you know, like your day-to-day basis? Yeah.
Well, I'm always busy. There's not such a structure in the way that I do things, but I always make sure that whatever behavior that I'm on is advancing me towards my goals. So my day usually begins waking up, and I'll meditate because I'm very interested in mental health, kind of tracking begin. So I'll exercise early on in the day. Sometimes I do it late, but forgive me because I'm a human being. But so like I have my priority is like myself and like my health and making sure I'm in a good place, and then relative topics. Because, you know, I need to find the people that share ideologies and that want to and change happen in the world. And then I'm creating different content, and I'm just testing and playing with it to see what is the best way to market.
Right.
And that's my Monday through Sunday. It's like on a repeat right now. And like I'll often meet local people, and we'll have conversations over coffee.
Right.
We just kind of throw ideas back and forth about how to build this thing up.
Right. So sorry to interrupt you right over here, because there's some like audio cut off here and there. Yeah. So is it possible to try to check with your microphone, the inputs and all that. Yeah.
On the tablet, so there
Right.
isn't any input I can really look at. Can you hear me okay right?
Yeah, just that during the conversation there's like quite a bit of like cut offs, so I didn't really catch you right over there. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but I think
Let me
it's
see
cool.
if
Yeah.
let me give you the short of it real quick. My Monday through Sunday is I'm studying. I wake up and I meditate, I exercise,
Right.
I study, I network, and I create art. Those are like the big 5 things, and that's on repeat. And like, oftentimes I'll meet with people over coffee just to throw ideas back and forth. Like I have some local people on my team found, and they're and
Right.
all the effort in to build this thing up, and we're serious about change.
That's cool. That's cool. Oh, so like how do you actually like find all those like friends that you actually found that actually wanted to do the music with you, or was it like people that you actually like already like friends that you already know and that you guys like actually join together to make this whole thing up together? Yeah.
No, so my prior to me developing this ambition, they don't contribute to it. Like we love each other. Like on the world, everyone have started working with me like along the journey. The best way I can answer this is
Right.
that because I lead off with the reason that I'm pursuing this and why I'm doing it,
Right.
that attracts people that want to work with me. That because at the end of the day, people don't buy what you do; they buy why you do it. Which is a direct quote from "Start with Why," a book by Simon Sinek. It's really good to leadership to take a look at.
Yeah. 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 Was it the Simon Sinek Start with Why, that book?
Yeah, that one.
Ah, I see, I see. I love his like his talks on YouTube. I actually watched him and all that. Yeah, like talking
Yeah,
about like like this type of like motivational people, like who do you actually follow, Like is there like anyone?
like I said, I'm super upset. So I'll feed you quick.
Yeah.
Tom Bilyeu with Impact Theory, he's a
Right.
huge motivation for me.
Right.
Simon Sinek is great. My introduction into this world was Gary Vaynerchuk, and he's amazing.
Right.
I don't watch his content as frequently as I used to, but I revisit because he's just real, and I like Tim Ferriss a lot. The 4-Hour Work Week was a good. And
Right.
he's really into Stoic philosophy, which is something that I resonate with a lot too. And I also study, like I listen to lectures by kind of New Age doctor type people, like Bruce Lipton. Which is thing. He's a function super. So that's just a short list.
Right. Right. Right.
Are there any particular influencers that you enjoy?
Oh, for my side, I actually like focus so much onto Tom Bilyeu. Yeah, I like
Yeah,
his
he's amazing.
the impact theory. I actually started with Tom Bilyeu. His interviews is like he just does like great interviews and bring out like different people's perspective, and so getting so much having options to choose the perspective that you actually want to have. such a great thing, and Tom Berry is actually allows us to discover the different types of like perspectives. So I really like that a lot from him, and because of the fact that I actually started having this mode of like self-awareness, that kind of a thing, last year 2019 January. And Gary Vaynerchuk is the big one that actually hits me on because it's very real. It talks about happiness. It talks about things that is not like what usually like people like actually talk about, which is money, putting money on the pedestal and all that. He actually flipped the script and actually put happiness on the pedestal. Then that really hits me a lot, and it actually
Definitely.
like kept on growing and all that until today and all that. Yeah, like about more speakers or the people that I admire is actually like just Gary Vaynerchuk, Jay Shetty, and Tom Berry, and probably Tony Robbins as well. Yeah, so like these are the
Those are
big
good guys.
ones. These are the big ones.
Yeah.
These are the big guys. Yeah. So like we have come until this far of this conversation, and I'd like to understand like like what do you think about life in general, life in general nowadays, like what's your purpose right now? I believe like you are doing this co-branding, to be able to like serve others in like satisfying them, fulfilling them on all that. Like I like to understand like your take, your perspective like right now, like
Sure.
yeah.
Yeah. Let me just. I wasn't prepared to answer this. I wholeheartedly interested in helping people reinforce their, and I want people to consume my content and walk away in a mind. I there's so much. You and I are on the light side of the internet, like we're like in the
Right.
but there's like the other. So, and I really just it's. I think it's the mission of God to expand these, just share these different perspectives on how. Like there's this ruling that when you change the way that you look, and I 100%. So yeah, I really just want to do neuro-linguistic programming, and that means being deliberate, just build a narrative that will serve them in their life, as
Right.
well as just create. I want to just create a new culture, being the best possible version of ourselves, and that I mean that being the best possible. Excuse me, being the best possible version of ourselves for ourselves. So like we're doing the self-development, but also possible version of ourselves for everyone else as well. Because I believe you don't find happiness unless your life is service. So that's why I'm to work on ethics and sustainability, because we're all, and we have to, as a team, to avoid total disaster. Climate change is real, but like just even put that all aside,
Right.
life is better when we live for each other. So let's be good
Right.
for and good for ourselves.
Definitely, like I'm totally onto that, like getting the purpose of like actually serving, uh like yeah, I'm all onto that as well. Yeah. So like before we actually end off like this podcast, like I like to understand like what is like one hot take that you are currently thinking about like right now? Yeah.
Ooh, a hot take. Bro, I have so many hot takes. You have to give me a second to pick one.
All right, all right. Just just pick one and go, man. Let's go. Yeah.
Alright. Okay. So here's a real hot take.
Right.
So, on the classification of the most dangerous drug in the world, alcohol is at number, and like that's just the like what man, but it's so much in our culture
Right.
that our workforce in the general perspective is told to go work your 9 to 5, go home and get your weekend, go out and like drink, and then this really is just like a distraction for people, not away from escape their lives. The way that the world is moving right now is 20 years, so many jobs that the most important skill set that we can develop is cognitive flexibility.
Right.
And that's because like futurists are projecting a person to work more than 10 jobs in a life. The job in automated systems. And this is especially true factory assembly and to remain cognitively flexible. I don't think alcohol has a place in it. Because in studies, you can look it up on your scans when you're drinking alcohol, it literally just. And this is an issue for me because a really dear and beloved uncle of mine passed away last year down. So like, and
Right.
it's something that I had suffered with early in my life. So I can speak from experience to how destructive it can be to like, you know,
Definitely.
personal growth. So yeah, that's my hot take, man. It's so much everywhere in culture that it's unrealistic to think we can just kick it out. But I think
Right.
for the people that really hear me when I'm saying this and like who we need to be going in the future to be our best versions, that really doesn't belong in the picture.
Right. Definitely 100%, man. Like I totally agree onto that. Like that kind of thing can like cause harm to yourself and all that. And you should take care of yourself and all that. Like we should like switch up the culture and bring awareness to that. And I believe like you talk about like people who are listening to this. Hopefully that hits them and all that. Yeah. So before everything else, like super grateful to have you here once again on this podcast. Like is
Thank you for
that
having me. I enjoyed this so much.
right? So where can we find you on your social medias, like especially your YouTube channel, right, that you set up on? Yeah.
Yes, bro. Thank you for asking. So my YouTube channel, where we do the music promotion primarily, that we are found on YouTube. You can check out the clothing brand at wearfound.com, WEARFOUND, wearfound.com. And the Instagram is at wearingfound. And on Twitter is wearfound, WEARFOUND. If you want to know more about Tomas developing my personal brand, I found AIM, AIM, and that's on Instagram, Twitter, and that's where you can catch a ton of my hot takes because I really don't stop. But I just think a lot, really making a change in the world.
Right. That's super awesome. Like guys, remember to check him out on the social media. And once again, like super grateful to have you here once again. Taking your time to actually do this podcast, having this meaningful conversation together. I hope you have fun. And
I did, Jack. It was great.
yeah, because I actually truly enjoy like having this type of conversation. Yeah. So with that, we're gonna end off. Any last few words that you would like to say before we actually cut off here? Yeah.
Last video. Know that the world that you're dreaming about, you can everything that's profits that exist in your mind as possible in the outside reality. It just might take a little time to get there, but at least I believe that's the case in the world.
Yeah, so never give up. Yeah. So yeah. So with that, this is your Jack Low experience, and I hope you guys had a great listen. See you guys.
Peace.
All right, peace, man.